Hello and welcome to the stream. Right now we got my microphone that I have to use and we're just getting ready. It's gonna I'm gonna sit here and wait a little bit till it starts to have people, and then we're gonna check it out and we're gonna start looking at stuff. So alright, we'll see what's going on here. Today is just gonna be a day where where we go over all the DC and Dead by Daylight stuff. Well, thank you, Jordan. This will be probably a pretty quick stream because we're only going to look at parts of stuff and I'm going to quickly discuss stuff. Okay. Kind of the first thing I wanted to go over was the new killer for Dead by Daylight. The new killer is called the Blight. He comes from he's of course created his own original thing. So he's actually been teased for a while. He's been called the Alchemist, and he's been testing flowers, and basically something that's been teased for so long and finally got here, and this was not what I expected. He looks awesome. Firstly, looks like the orange coming out of his mouth and everything. Look very creepy looking. But his power is actually doing rushes and running into walls and bouncing like a pinball, is something I saw a streamer say. So, really interesting power overall. He's in the open beta right now, which player test build, beta, whatever, same thing. So I do not have him at the moment, but I will be testing him and I'll be streaming once the price is blight. Once I do get him. So I just wanted to look at the perks that he has real quick because I think that's something important to look at. So his first perk is called Dragon's Grip, which after kicking in generator for the next 30 seconds, the first survivor that interacts with it will scream and reveal their location and then get the exposed status effect, which means that they go down with one hit. This could be good for higher levels because generally it has people hiding behind rocks and such, so they can just quickly go and grab the gen before it loses too much damage or charge. So this potentially could work depending on what you play and how close you are to the generators. I think it could be good for him due to his speed with the rush, and potentially could be a mid-tier perk, depending what build you're going for. Second one is Hex Blood Favor. Hex that gains the favor of the entity when blood is spilt. When a survivor is hit with a basic attack, all pallets within a radius of 16 meters of your location are held in place and cannot be pulled down. In theory, this would be a really good perk because this makes the chase easier. It would limit the ability to loop, in theory. But 16 meters isn't that big. And knowing this, a straight line, you're going to get out of that very quickly. Unless you're already in the process of a loop, this probably isn't going to be the most helpful perk. And maybe when it first happens, it could be really powerful, especially against lower ranked players. I don't buy that this perk's gonna have much use in the metagame. And then the final one is Hex Undying, which basically, if another perk's totem is cleansed, it transfers, so you keep the perk to another one, to another totem. There's 3 on each stage. Yeah, that could be really good depending what hex you have. Hex Ruin is something a lot of people run. So yeah, that potentially could be really good. The next thing I wanted to jump over to was to the new survivor, Felix Richter, who is semi-connected to the killer because they end up going to the same island where he's held. I didn't want to go too much into the lore because there's a lot of it. But he ends up getting into the fog. He's an architect, so that's kind of like what the perk names are related to. But his perks overall, I don't think are great. Visionary is you see auras of generators within 32 meters. Yeah, that's not, honestly, that's nothing that I would use. Because, I mean, you just gotta look up and you'll see. Unless you can somehow predict that you're gonna be on the map that is inside where you have trouble finding generators, this isn't gonna be the strongest or most useful. It's similar to the Oni having Zanshin Tactics, which basically just allowed you to see pallets, but once you play the game enough, you know where the stuff is anyway, and you can accurately predict it. Desperate Measures. This is actually the inverse of Thanatophobia, which is a nurse perk. It increases healing and hooking and unhooking speeds by whatever percentage of whatever color you have. For each dying / hooked survivor. That could be really good. Late game, it's kind of a perk that's like you're on your back and you manage to quickly get back into the game. Running this with borrowed time, you'd quickly be able to unhook and just go. So that could be a usable one. Who knows? We'll see. And then Built to Last. You know how to get the most out of your tools. Once per trial, a depleted item will refill 30, 40, 50% of its charges after 10 seconds. If you use items a lot, maybe. But you only have 4 perk slots, and that doesn't have enough use to get one of those perk slots. This just kind of shows how modern, like some of the game-breaking early perks, which everyone uses, the developers are trying to stray away from that. So, now perks come and you're like, oh, it's not as useful as this perk, or there's a better perk for this. And that just kind of shows how that is. So that's kind of all I wanted to show you from Dead by Daylight. I want to go into more about that later. When I do run the Blight in a few weeks. But first, the main part of this, I'm just going to be running through some of the main things that were revealed at DC Fandome and kind of talk about them. The first, I don't want to show this whole video, but it's the trailer for Gotham Knights. And this is just kind of... It starts with this nice intro. In breaking news, where Batman is announcing his death. So, that's a code black. It's basically he sends the video to all the Bat family, which is 4 people in this one. And says, hey, I'm terrible news. I'm dead. There's Jason Todd. Heart. Hey, I'm dead, and I trust you all to keep working. So, that's that. Really, good thing, but I just want to jump to some of the gameplay. It's developed by Warner Brothers Montreal, who worked on Arkham Origins, which wasn't the best Arkham game, but this Mr. Freeze is going to be in it. The four main characters are Batgirl, Barbara Gordon, Nightwing, Dick Grayson, of course, um, the Red Hood, Jason Todd, um, my personal favorite, and you get to select who you play with, and that's 100% who I will be playing with. Um, and then Robin, I'm assuming Tim Drake is who it will be. It never explicitly says, but looking at the Robin costume and his penchant for technology, it's likely Tim Drake. Because it would either be him or Damian Wayne, and if it was Damian, he would have a sword. So, step into the night, and they tease the Court of the Owls, which is one of the most interesting stories. It's this Gotham underworld. They control everything, and so, in the story, they capture Bruce Wayne. So I'm assuming Batman's not dead if they're using the Court of the Owls. But he's just down there because the Talon captured him. So yeah, I'm really excited for this. It will be online co-op. I believe only 2 people. I don't believe it's a 4-player co-op game. But 2-player co-op's still awesome. So you can play with your friends and start going out and whipping people. So, really excited for that. I was really happy with that announcement. The second thing is the other video game that was talked about. And that was Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. So, it's a cinematic trailer where they're talking. This is a review video, so. But the 4 people used. Yeah, Superman, controlled by Brainiac, I'm presuming. Suicide Squad having to fight the Justice League. What an interesting concept for a game. I really think it's awesome. Same Rocksteady, who developed the Arkham games. And there's 4 playable characters. It is King Shark, who has a minigun, Harley Quinn, Deadshot, and Captain Boomerang. 4 are pretty big mainstays. So I'm really happy with what's going on. It's 4-player co-op. You play alone, you can switch to whatever character you want, or you can play with 4 players. Which, I mean, you just have a Suicide Squad run with 4 people, that's awesome. And I'm presuming, it only showed Superman, but I'm presuming it says, Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League, rather than, instead of Suicide Squad, kills Superman. So I think there could be some really interesting gameplay and boss fights between fighting Superman, maybe Wonder Woman, and I'd imagine they'd throw more low-key characters in there. So you could just add more boss fights. So I'm really happy with this. I'm going to be repping King Shark. Maybe a little bit of Captain Boomerang. We'll see. But yeah, no. I can't wait for this game either. I think both games have really good potential. I believe this game is not coming out till 2022, though, if I remember correctly. Next, I want to just talk about the Snyder Cut of Justice League real quick. It's going to be coming out on HBO Max. Next year, it's coming out in 4 installments, which is a little annoying, but one of the big things is none of the main characters are doing any reshoots. So that raises a lot of questions about the Justice League, because that would insinuate that they were almost completely done. Uh, so their choice to make so many reshoots under Joss Whedon raises a lot of questions. Um, but this one looks more cohesive, keeps the same kind of energy as the previous movies, so I think this could be really good. Um, Maybe. One of the big problems with Zack Snyder is he sometimes makes movies that are artistic and great looking, beautiful movies. Batman vs. Superman, beautiful. But sometimes the narrative doesn't always make sense. Um, like the Batman vs. Superman director's cut. It had like 30 minutes. Made more sense, but, not every movie can be 3.5 hours long. Um, so there are some questions there. Uh, but I'm excited to at least see what Snyder did. For those who don't know, he unfortunately had to step away from the project during tragedy that happened to his family. A family member committed suicide. Um, so he unfortunately had to step away. Joss Whedon comes in, makes the goofy Justice League, and it was very divisive. A lot of people hated it. So we'll see now. One of the big things is Steppenwolf, the villain of the movie. It was him, and Darkseid will also be in this one. But Steppenwolf, there he is. This is what he looks like in this one, which is way cooler, if you ask me. So I'm definitely happy with how he looks and kind of the darker look. I have to plug my computer in real quick. But kind of, if anybody has any questions concerning any of these movies, what they're going to look like, just anything, just drop it in the chat. I'll try to answer it. If I can't, then I'm sorry. I just got back from class and I tried to do some quick research for stuff I didn't know, but it happens. Okay. The next thing I want to look at is 1984. Not the whole trailer. If you're interested in Wonder Woman, definitely check